For 30 years, a secret society of wrestling promoters controlled everything. They were a cartel, a network of families, and their only contract was a handshake. Their word was law. They built a massive, profitable empire that seemed completely untouchable. They literally divided up a map of the United States, created wrestling legends, and built an industry that had millions of fans. This is the insane story of the empire they built, and how one man's ambition burned it all to the ground, creating the wrestling world we have today. This is the story of the National Wrestling Alliance, and how it spectacularly collapsed. Before wrestling was a global brand with billion-dollar TV deals, it was completely local. Wrestling belonged to the people in Charlotte, in Dallas, in Memphis. It was like a traveling circus with giants, going from town to town, creating heroes and villains that felt like they were yours. This entire system, this secret empire, was called the National Wrestling Alliance, or NWA. It was built to protect every single promoter, so no outsider could just show up and steal their business. And honestly, it was a brilliant model that created a golden age. But what happens when one guy decides the rules don't apply to him? What happens when a gentleman's agreement gets completely shattered by one man's crazy vision for the future? You get a revolution. A war that left only one person standing on the ashes of an entire era. To understand how Vince McMahon Jr. flipped the entire wrestling world upside down, you have to see the kingdom he decided to conquer. After World War II, wrestling was total chaos. Dozens of promoters were all doing their own thing, each crowning their own world champion. Can you imagine how confusing that was for fans? It was a mess. There was no order, no security, and promoters were constantly worried about a rival coming into their city and stealing their audience and their wrestlers. That all changed in 1948. A handful of the most powerful promoters in the country, led by this super respected booker from St. Louis named Sam Muchnick, met in a hotel and decided to fix everything. They created a new governing body, the National Wrestling Alliance. The idea was shockingly simple. Instead of fighting each other, they would work together. They would combine all their world titles into one undisputed NWA World Heavyweight Championship. This champion would be the final boss, the best of the best. But the NWA was way more than just a belt. It was built on one core idea, the Territory System. These promoters literally took a map of the US and Canada and carved it up into their own little kingdoms. Every promoter had exclusive control over their region. If you ran Florida, no one from Georgia could run a show in your town. This was the gentleman's agreement, an unwritten rule that the entire thing was built on. This agreement was the NWA's superpower. It created a cartel where everybody won. By getting rid of competition, promoters could focus on making their local show amazing. They could take a totally unknown wrestler and slowly build them into a local god who could sell out arenas in their city. Fans were insanely loyal to their local promotions and their local heroes. A top star in Memphis could be a nobody in Detroit, which kept the wrestlers feeling special. The system was also genius for sharing, and the biggest prize was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. This champion was a traveling superstar, a king who would go from territory to fight the local top guy. This was an incredible booking trick. When the champ came to town, it was a huge event. It made the local promoter a ton of money, and it made their local hero look like a legit contender. The champion almost always won, but barely, making the local guy look even better and setting up a rematch that would make even more money. The NWA's board of directors, which was just the most powerful promoters, would vote on who got to be the champion. It wasn't just about being a good wrestler. You had to be trusted, reliable, and a massive draw. The champion had to travel like a maniac, put on an amazing match every single night, and represent the entire alliance. This structure led to an insane variety of wrestling styles. The NWA map was a patchwork of different wrestling cultures. In the Mid-Atlantic, run by Jim Crockett Promotions, wrestling was technical and all about the story. This was the home of legends like Ric Flair, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and Roddy Piper. Go south and you're in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Thanks to a wild deal with Ted Turner's superstation, WTBS, GCW was beamed into homes all across America, making it the most watched territory of them all. This was classic Southern wrestling, with stars like Mr. Wrestling 2 and the super popular Tommy Wildfire Rich. Go west to the Mid-South Territory, run by Cowboy Bill Watts, and you were in a world of pure, gritty violence. Watts wanted his wrestling to feel real, and his promotion was tough. It was the complete opposite of the polished stuff you saw elsewhere, with rugged stars like the Junkyard Dog and the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And it just kept going. From Eddie Graham's high-flying style in Florida to the Funk family's brutal wrestling in Amarillo, Texas, every territory was its own unique brand. For 30 years, this empire was hiding in plain sight, a perfectly balanced system built on honor and profit. It seemed like it would last forever. But the world was changing, and a new generation was coming, and they had zero respect for the old rules. The late 1970s and early 1980s were the absolute peak of the territory system. This was the golden era, where the NWA system was just printing money. The amount of talent was insane, the stories were amazing, and everyone was getting rich. This time wasn't about just one promotion. It was about how strong the entire network was, with a few key territories leading the way. Jim Crockett Promotions was at the very top. Based in Charlotte, JCP became the NWA's flagship territory. Jim Crockett Jr. took over from his dad, and with the help of genius bookers, turned the promotion into an absolute powerhouse. JCP treated wrestling like art. They focused on skill, and most importantly, telling stories over months and months, leading to huge emotional payoffs that fans were obsessed with. Their roster was a list of future Hall of Famers. At the center of it all was the Nature Boy Ric Flair, the ultimate limousine-riding, jet-flying world champion. His rivalries with guys like Dusty Rhodes, the working-class American Dream, were legendary. But it wasn't just Flair. You had the crazy intensity of Rowdy Roddy Piper and the insane athletic ability of Ricky Steamboat. This roster could give you a technical masterpiece one night and a bloodbath in a cage the next. The Four Horsemen, a group led by Flair, literally created the blueprint for every wrestling faction that came after them. While JCP was mastering stories, another territory was changing how we watch wrestling. Georgia Championship Wrestling's partnership with Ted Turner's superstation, WTBS, was a complete game changer. When WTBS went national on cable in 1976, GCW was suddenly the first wrestling show with a national audience. Every Saturday night, fans all over America could tune in. This exposure was unbelievable. It made its stars household names and turned its announcer, Gordon Soley, into the most trusted voice in wrestling. His serious, sport-like commentary made everything feel legit. GCW was all about believable, athletic competition. The success of GCW proved that the NWA could have a massive national audience, but it also showed everyone the path to destroying. If JCP was the art house and GCW was the national broadcast, Mid-South Wrestling was the underground fight club. Run with an iron fist by Cowboy Bill Watts, Mid-South was all about realism. Watts hated the cartoon stuff he saw in wrestling. He made his territory feel like a real sport. The matches were brutal, the interviews were intense, and the stories were simple and violent. Mid-South was the place where some of the toughest guys in wrestling got their start, like the super popular Junkyard Dog and a young Ted DiBiase, who started his $1 Million Man persona there. In 1986, Watts tried to expand nationally and rebranded as the Universal Wrestling Federation, UWF. But when his region's oil economy collapsed, his business went with it, and he was forced to sell to Jim Crockett. His failure was a warning sign of how expensive it was to try and expand. The one thing holding this entire universe together was the traveling champion. The NWA World Heavyweight Champion was more than a wrestler. He was the ultimate attraction. Guys like Harley Race, an 8-time champion, and Ric Flair were perfect for the role. They would spend over 300 days a year on the road, flying from city to city, defending the 10 pounds of gold against each territory's top star. This system was brilliant. It guaranteed a huge payday for the local promoter. It protected the champion by not letting him get overexposed, and it made the local talent look amazing. A close match with the NWA World Champion could make a local guy a superstar overnight. The champion was the thread connecting this massive web of promotions, a constant symbol of the NWA's power. During this golden era, the system seemed perfect. Nobody could imagine it was all about to be destroyed. The NWA's incredible empire wasn't destroyed by some outside company. It was torn down from the inside by a man who grew up in the system but refused to play by its rules. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. In 1982, Vince Jr. bought the World Wrestling Federation from his dad. Vince Sr. was a respected promoter who followed the NWA's rules. His son had a completely insane idea. He didn't see a map of friends. He saw a country full of wrestling fans, and he wanted all of them. Vince McMahon's goal was simple and brutal: national expansion. He immediately started breaking every unwritten rule the business had lived by for decades. The gentleman's agreement was the first thing to go. McMahon started running WWF shows right in the middle of other promoters' territories, which was a huge slap in the face to the NWA. He used cable TV and the new world of pay-per-view to broadcast his show into every single home in America, competing directly with the local shows that were the heart of the territories. But his most devastating move was raiding all the talent. The territory system only worked because stars stayed in their regions. McMahon looked at that talent pool and saw a shopping list. He went after the biggest stars in every territory, offering them insane amounts of money and national TV exposure. His biggest prize was a giant, charismatic wrestler from the AWA, Hulk Hogan. McMahon knew Hogan was the superhero he needed to lead his takeover. He also stole Macho Man Randy Savage from Memphis, Roddy Piper from Jim Crockett, and dozens of others. He wasn't just taking their wrestlers, he was ripping the heart out of the territories, one star at a time. The message was clear: if you want to make real money, you come to the WWF. The NWA promoters were in shock. This wasn't just competition, it was a hostile takeover. But the moment that sent a massive shockwave through the entire industry happened on one day. Saturday, July 14th, 1984. Today we call it Black Saturday. For years, Georgia Championship Wrestling on WTBS was the #1 wrestling show in the country. Vince McMahon wanted that time slot. When Ted Turner refused to sell it to him, Vince found another way. He secretly went to the majority owners of Georgia Championship Wrestling and convinced them to sell him their shares. That Saturday, fans all over America tuned in expecting to see their favorite GCW stars. Instead, they saw Vince McMahon himself, welcoming them to the WWF's new show. The Southern wrestling they loved was gone, replaced by boring, pre-taped WWF matches. The fan backlash was huge. TBS was flooded with angry phone calls. They didn't want Vince's cartoon characters, they wanted their wrestling back. The move was a ratings disaster for Vince, and he ended up selling the time slot to Jim Crockett for $1 million. But the damage was done. Black Saturday was a declaration of war. It proved no territory was safe. As the WWF continued its massive expansion, only one man tried to fight back: Jim Crockett Jr. Crockett saw what was happening and tried to unite the remaining NWA territories under his banner. He started buying up the other territories, like Bill Watts's UWF and the TBS time slot Vince had abandoned. For a minute, it looked like it might work. JCP, now basically the entire NWA, was on national TV with a roster led by Ric Flair. Crockett went to war with McMahon. When McMahon scheduled the first Survivor Series on Thanksgiving night, 1987, the NWA's traditional date for their biggest show, Starrcade, Crockett had to move his event. So for revenge, when McMahon ran WrestleMania 4, Crockett aired a free, star-packed special called Clash of the Champions, which famously had a 45-minute classic between Ric Flair and Sting. These were big moves, but they were incredibly expensive. Buying up territories and battling the WWF's endless money put JCP in a financial death spiral. By 1988, the war was over. Almost all of the territories were either bankrupt or had been bought by Crockett or the WWF. The constant talent poaching and the old-school promoters' failure to adapt destroyed them. Jim Crockett Promotions, Bleeding Money, was sold to Ted Turner in late 1988. Turner rebranded it World Championship Wrestling, WCW, creating the next major rival to the WWF and setting up the next big wrestling war. The gentleman's agreement was dead. The NWA, as a powerful force, was finished. The diverse wrestling world was replaced by one single product. One man's ambition had shattered an empire, and a new one was being built from the rubble. The collapse of the territory system wasn't just a business deal. It was the end of an entire culture. When it was all over, the wrestling world was changed forever. So, what did we actually lose? And did anything survive? What was lost was variety. The biggest casualty was the insane diversity of wrestling. Fans lost the brutal realism of Mid-South, the technical art of the Mid-Atlantic, and the wild brawls of Memphis. Instead, we got one single vision of what wrestling should be: the sports entertainment of the WWF. All the regional flavors were blended into one national product. The idea of a wrestler being a god in one town, a local hero, completely vanished. That special connection between a local promotion and its fans was gone. Countless regional stars, guys who were huge main eventers in their territories, were left with nowhere to go. Many of them couldn't or wouldn't change for the WWF style, and they just faded away, their legacies living on only in the memories of local fans. The system that had built stars for decades was destroyed. But not everything was lost. The biggest legacy of the Territory System is the talent it created. The NWA Territories were the ultimate training ground. Before they became global superstars, almost every huge name of the 80s and 90s learned how to wrestle in the territories. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper, Ted DiBiase, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Road Warriors, Randy Savage. The list is endless. These legends weren't made in some corporate training center. They were made in the territories, wrestling hundreds of nights a year. Their success on the national stage was because of the training they got in the NWA system. The booking ideas perfected in the territories still influence wrestling today. The idea of a long-term feud, a shocking heel turn, and a hero's big comeback were all invented in the territories. Modern promotions, whether they know it or not, are using the playbook written by those bookers in places like Charlotte and Dallas.
Today, you can see echoes of the territory days. The rivalry between major companies gives fans an alternative, just like the old system did. Some companies even partner with promotions in other countries, letting wrestlers cross over in a modern version of the NWA's talent sharing. The NWA brand still exists, now owned by musician Billy Corgan. It's not the powerhouse it used to be, but it's trying to bring back a new territory system, which is crazy. Wrestling fans will argue about this forever. Was Vince McMahon's takeover a good or bad thing? On one hand, he turned a regional business into a global entertainment monster. On the other hand, he did it by destroying a rich, diverse culture, killing variety to dominate the market. There's no easy answer, but one thing is for sure. The collapse of the NWA Territory System was the single biggest event in pro wrestling history. It was the end of an empire built on a handshake, and the beginning of a new one built on pure ambition. It closed the book on wrestling being a collection of local stories and started a new one, telling a single, global story. The world of the territories is gone, but its ghost still haunts the ring. If you enjoyed this insane piece of wrestling history, smash that like button and subscribe for more stories that shaped the world of sports entertainment. Let us know in the comments, what was your favorite territory and who was your favorite star from that era? The story of the NWA is a classic tale of tradition versus progress, of a gentleman's agreement shattered by insane ambition. For over 30 years, it was a secret empire that defined pro wrestling, creating a golden age of legends and an incredible variety of styles. Its collapse, orchestrated by the singular vision of Vince McMahon, was brutal, fast, and absolute. It changed wrestling forever, creating the billion-dollar global industry we see today. The smoke has long cleared, but the debate over what was lost and what was gained is still going. But the legacy of the territories is still here. A reminder of a time when wrestling felt local, personal, and unbelievably real.